Gaur Premanandi, Haribo.
We're very honored to have His Holiness Ramapada Swami with us here today.
You're not going to read, are you? He's done this, he's done that, and does this and does that. Don't read it. Don't read it. Don't read it.
We just highlight one.
No. I hear it all the time, you know, the standard text. And
Okay, that's a new part. So Maharaj was also instrumental in the establishment of this Krishna house back in 2013. So it makes
a few
me
years ago.
extremely joyful to have him back here with us today. So
Thank
you
you.
so much, Maharaj, for your presence.
Short and sweet. Thank you.
And tonight's session is called Evening with the Swami. The format is questions and answers. Some of you may have already submitted questions using the form, but if you haven't, then you have the opportunity to ask Maharaj questions in person as well. Thank you so much.
I hope you don't mind I cut you off. Thank you. Well, I took a look at the list, and I don't know who organized the list, but I think I'm going to start at the bottom. And the start at the bottom because the ones at the bottom are very broad in general. The ones at the top are more specific. So if I start with the specific ones, by the time we get to the bottom ones, you'll be bored. So let's go to the bottom. Okay. So there's 14. Number 14 says, why is it important for us to take up ISKCON's teaching so all paths lead to God? Well, there's a popular ism out there that says all paths lead to the same thing. Yatamat tatapat. All paths lead to the same thing. And that's an impersonal notion. And it's not the fact that all paths lead to the same thing. If I walk out the front door and turn left and turn right, it's going to get me to the same place. Doesn't matter, just follow your heart's dictate, or it's going to get you to the same place. No, that's not the case. A modified statement that is worthy is there are yoga texts, we'll just use that language, from the yoga texts, from the Vedic texts, from the texts that explain the different levels of spiritual elevation that are coming down to us in a descending fashion, then they eventually meanderingly lead to Tat, the absolute truth. Om Tat Sat. Somebody asked me a question from Bhagavad Gita. There's this mention of Om Tat Sat. What does it mean? So I gave a very simple answer, and then a nice devotee did some research, and he came up with 14 pages of different scriptural references that say different things about Om Tat Sat. In short, it's aspects of the absolute truth. Brahman Paramatma Bhagavan. In short. So the absolute truth has different aspects. One truth, different aspects. Not all paths lead to truth. Some lead to a dark alley, and some paths lead to truth, and some paths that lead to truth may give indication of impersonal, localized, or Paramatma feature or personal feature. And it's no guarantee at all you go to this level and you're automatically elevated to the next level, automatically off. So it's not an automatic process. There are stages. It doesn't necessarily mandate to go to the next stage. So the notion that all paths lead to the same isn't correct. And then you can modify and say the Vedic paths lead to the absolute truth, and there are different features of the absolute truth and the different degrees of realization of those levels of the absolute truth. So now back to the first part of the question. Why is it important for us to take up ISKCON's teachings? Well, it's not exactly ISKCON's teachings. I mean, ISKCON has some strength primarily in our founder Acharya and the disciplic succession that our founder Acharya is representing. Like I'm looking on, singing Hare Krishna, looking at these little pictures up on the ledge here. There's Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta, Gorky Shordas, Babaji, Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Disciplic succession, the unbroken line of realized souls in disciplic succession, that has some special merit. And are there others that have special merit or an unbroken disciplic succession? Yes. You grab a hold of an electric wire that's plugged in to the powerhouse, you're going to get electricity. This wire, that wire, the other wire, they're all good. Make sure they're connected to the powerhouse, and you paid your electric bill. And then you're going to get electricity. So what's the merit? Why emphasis on ISKCON? Well, emphasis on ISKCON is because it's our founder Acharya. Srila Prabhupada made it available very liberally. And the purports are very understandable. And so there's merit. Very accessible and very understandable. And a bona fide line connected to the powerhouse. Connected to Krishna through a disciplic succession. And supposing you graduate from this place. Hopefully you'll graduate from this place. And then hopefully you'll move on to some situation somewhere. So when you go on to some situation somewhere, ISKCON has centers all over the place. I mean, not every place. I know somebody that is living in Houston, Texas. And they're really nicely, he and his wife and small child are nicely connected to the Houston temple. It's a fantastic temple. And the company he works for, I won't mention the name of the company, they want everybody all over the country that works for that company to move to Shreveport, Louisiana. There's no ISKCON in Shreveport, Louisiana, except there are other people in other parts of this company that are also being asked to move to Shreveport, Louisiana. So it looks like Super Soul is arranging the little sangha there in Shreveport, Louisiana, so they can start something where there isn't something. But because there's sangha over in Seattle and in Portland and this place and that place, and they're all moving. So there's a connection. One of the values of ISKCON is there's sangha all over the world. Association of like-minded persons all over the world. All over the world. All over the world. I mean, in the Middle East, in China, in remote places, there's ISKCON links all over the world. And so as the second is, the teachings are readily available. The publications of the BBT are in languages all over the world and available abundantly and continually being distributed widely. So there's a flow. So there's advantages. Are there other options? Yes, there's other options. Then just be selective. Disciplic succession is important, please. Not important. It's imperative. And the explanations are understandable. because sometimes explanations are a little difficult. I don't know if you've dallied around with different explanations, but they're sometimes difficult to understand. And if you have difficulty understanding them, what are you going to do?